welcome to What's on Your Mind. I'm Peter Snauwaert, and today, what can we learn from Els van Laecke? Els grew up with a mother who was an addict, an alcohol addict. When she was 12, she decided to no longer be a victim. When she was 18, she left the house and paid for her own university studies. And then later on, after her journey through the corporate world, she started her own coaching business. I give you almost 2 hours of a deep and a golden conversation with Els van Laecke. It's really a really intense conversation and tackling every topic you can imagine. Her coaching business, her journey when she was young, also how about raising her own children, everything we are tackling, and also self-love and self-acceptance. 2 hours almost full with gold nuggets with Els van Laecke. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Welcome to What's on Your Mind with Peter Snauwaert. Every week a guest talks about his or her story, and that story can inspire you to change your own. Here's Peter.
Okay, Els. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
First question to kick off. Easiest question.
Easiest? Okay, I like easy, so let's do it.
What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? To inspire lots of entrepreneurs today together with you.
Okay.
And to also get to know you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because we don't really know each other.
No,
so
we don't.
If I would have one objective, or at least that spirit that we are together, is to inspire you with lots of positive energy.
Cool,
and
cool.
also the entrepreneurs which are listening.
Looking forward to it. Now, we are right now May 2021. A lot of entrepreneurs saw the COVID period as two kinds of ways. There were the ones who saw it as an opportunity, and the others saw it as a struggle and fear. What was your view on this complete period? How do you look on it?
Well, the first lockdown, I must say, my business has boosted like crazy. But it wasn't at all the first couple of days when the lockdown got announced, because I got connected again with this little small girl, which was 7 years old, and heard her mother saying that we would get on the blacklist because there would not be any money. So even if I have a great house now, I have a great business, I got in this childish trance, I'd say. Mm-hmm. I remember I was crying. I was standing in front of my husband. I was saying, what if we cannot pay our bills anymore, and we bought this great new house, and what if, and what if, and what if? And my husband said, snap out of it, else you are in 2020, you are not 7 years old again. So in the beginning, I was back into these old, fears, let's say, which weren't up to date. Mm-hmm. Because my mother, I'm coming from quite, how do you say that? Poor environment where there wasn't such a lot of money, and I heard a lot of my mother saying the blacklist is in Belgium, the list where if you don't want to get on, because it's when you get on the blacklist you cannot get any loans and everything anymore. Mm-hmm. So after that, I was just standing there, and I was so thankful for my husband again, that he was an uplifting energy at that moment. And I said, okay, snap out of it, else. It was on Saturday morning. I said, how am I going to be at service for my clients? And the day after, I sent a mail already. Tomorrow morning, I'm there for you. Get all in the Zoom call. I'm going to give you some ideas, some content on how to deal with everything. And so from that moment, I just started launching a new online program just to be at service. Did a lot of webinars, a lot of free talks, and through that, everything started flowing again. Okay.
Now, you mentioned already, you mentioned a lot of things which triggered me. You were 7 years young, young girl, having a kind of mindset of scarcity, because something you adopted from your mother. What was the situation, if you want to talk about it, with your mother? Was she alcoholic or something, or was she? Okay.
Yeah, you got it directly correct.
Okay.
So both my parents were quite addicted, both in their own sense. Mm-hmm. So my mother, she was addicted to alcohol, and even if she was working quite hard, because I can never say that my mother didn't work hard, but she had also. Yeah, she was always spending money too. Mm-hmm. So her best friend was alcohol, not her children. So in that sense, it was indeed an environment of scarcity, of not believing in your dreams, of not daring to show up. If you were a gray mouse, then that would be amazing, because then you would disappear behind the curtains, and then you could be part of the family system. Yeah. So me being different was quite a challenge. And that's why also when I was 12 years old, I decided to do life and take life in my own hands and do it differently.
At 12, immediately you decided not to become a victim of the situation.
Exactly. So
and what triggered you? That was that did you saw your mother lying on the couch or something?
Well, lots of situations, Peter, because my mother, when she was not working, she was drinking.
Okay.
So she was also lots of times sick in her bed. So with the little money we had to go and get like Vichy water, because it helps for the stomach. And so I saw lots of times things that I didn't want. And she was a lot of times also at a pub drinking, a cafe, I don't know, something pub, like that. And so when I was a little child, my sister was the one, my older sister, which is 5.5 years older. She was a bit my surrogate mother. Yeah. And so we went, when we were already little children, we went working together with my mother to clean all like these apartment houses, these very big apartment buildings. So I can really clean really well. That's a skill I learned from my mother. But I really said at 12 years old, I'm going to do it differently. So I started working. I remember I was 8 years old. I went to do lots of different things to get some money. And then because I didn't want to have shoes anymore, which were wet, and then my socks were getting wet. And then I started, really from that moment on, I was just sitting in front of the couch all the time, looking at Sound of Music and Dirty Dancing in loops. And it wasn't a very stimulating environment. Yeah. And so that's why at 12 years, I said, okay, that was the beginning of the high school. And I said, I'm going to do the most difficult direction is not the correct word, but Latin at that moment, most difficult one, so that I can create my own future. And so on the same tendency, I continued and I started doing university, and I got also high recognition for what I did. Yeah. And then I paid for myself Vlerik school and so on. Yeah.
You also paid for your own university?
Yeah. I went out of the house when I was 18 years old.
And are you still in contact with your mother?
Well, that's the interesting part. Now I'm in contact back, I think, 4 years now.
Okay.
So I was 20 years not in contact with her.
It was by accident yesterday, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very traumatic situation for such a young girl. So you had to grow up quite early compared to other children, okay? Now, as you know, everything in life is not about the other. You create your own world.
Exactly.
And also, you have to deal yourself with the traumas, especially in things like self-love and self-acceptance. How did you deal with that? Because I can imagine the first years you are struggling, you're a survivor and you're fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're running away from your own feelings and putting them away by working hard. And how did you cope with that?
Well, I must say, if I'm very honest, till the 28 years old, I did what you were just explaining. Fighting, working hard, creating one surviving mechanism after of another. If I look at myself, when I was a teenager, oh my God, the boyfriends that I had at that time, because I was a little bitch, to be honest. And just to protect myself, from not being hurt again, because my mother wasn't there, but my father neither, because he went away when I was 4 and he had a psychic illness. Mm-hmm. And when I was 28 years old, I realized that, I was a high potential at Danone. I was working with Danone and I got everything, concerning my career and everything. But I was quite an insecure overachiever. Yeah. This is a term, I love it so much. It's coming from Georges Anton. It's one of my colleagues, or former colleagues, coaches. And he put that term in, insecure overachiever. Mm. You're overachieving, you always get great results, but inside you are really insecure, but no one knows.
That was me.
Yeah, too. You recognize that too.
Of course. Yeah. Because you feel insecure, nobody knows, and you use that success, that performance thing to prove yourself that you're worth something.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
you think that by achieving something, that these goals or those objectives, that these create also your identity.
Exactly. But the big problem with that is it's all external.
Yep.
So the moment that someone I can really, if I look at Stijn van der Vorst, of David Willems, of Thibaut Helleputte, they were really amazing bosses. And Alex Toré, they're all past my, lots, I can continue. Bruno Fromage, Albert Ragon, they really helped me big times to increase my self-esteem. Mm-hmm. But the moment someone passes that does not do that, you just, there's no roots on your self-confidence. So you're like a very big tree and everything is beautiful, and then someone comes and the tree just gets hit and it's done, it's finished. So what I learned at 28 years old, I started getting coach myself.
And how did you, 28, I assume that's like 15 years ago or something? 10 years ago?
It was yesterday.
Yes. No, but
I'm getting 41 on the 21st of May, so this month.
The 21st is still a Taurus.
So it's a twin. Yeah, it's like in the just on the border. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, coaching, searching for help on your 28. What happened then? Was it some kind of situation? Because with me, I was like, I had it. I don't feel anything anymore. It was like I had everything, but it doesn't work anymore. So I called a therapist, and I must say it went quite okay till I think I was like 31 or something. But at 28, I still was quite okay concerning my physical health and emotional health, etc. But I must say I had lots of this, eagerness to show myself and to prove myself. And in my communication skills, that was the reason at 28 why I started coaching, because my bosses said, she's like a rough diamond, it's all there. We just have to polish the diamond. And because I was sometimes too direct in my communication, which is still one of my qualities, I would say, but that you are direct. Yeah, I think it's a quality. But at that time, the how I was direct was a bit different than now. But what I realized when I was in coaching, I realized that was the insight that I was that I got everything of validation externally. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't accepting myself for who I was. I wasn't accepting my mother and my father. I was in the battle with myself internally. And at 31, I really started crashing. I felt what you were expressing just before, like you have everything, a beautiful career, Danone is ready for the next step with you, and you feel empty inside. Yeah, empty. And it's a very strange feeling.
It's a very strange feeling, because I had a great husband, a great dog, a great apartment. I was an expat in Danone, Utrecht. It was amazing. It was a great city. And then, I was like, shit, what's happening? And I see myself sitting there in my apartment, and I wanted no contact for a moment with everybody. And then I remember I called my coach, and she said to me, if you now go back directly to work, I'm not going to guide you anymore, because you're going into a burnout. And I was like, what are you saying? No, burnout, no, not me. I can do everything. But it was then the start of really going through a journey of self-acceptance and self-love, and starting from self-worth, because that's always the route to go to self-acceptance and self-love. And then second route next to self-love is the acceptance of your mother and your father, where you're coming from.
Can you now see them as a kind of, I wouldn't say a gift, but they were trying to teach you something?
Well, the thing is, they teach me that I could be present and where they could not. And they teach me that also that they choose for their traumas, and I can do differently. Yeah. And I can guide people now so that they don't need to stay there in their blockages or in their destruction in one way or the other, or in their defense mechanisms, but that they can come home to themselves.
Yeah. So the mess you were in is now your message.
Yeah. But, also my mother, I have accepted her for who she is. When I go there and she's still alive, my father died when I was 17 years old, unfortunately. But my mother, I'm so glad now, through all the work I did on myself, going through systemic work, trauma work, all these things that I cleaned myself up, let's say, I got the opportunity to reconnect with my mother after 20 years. And now my children know their grandmother. And I know, when I meet with her, I can talk to her. We have done things that I never thought were possible. A certain moment, she got a heart attack, and I was sitting lots of times next to her bed. I was never thinking that I was going to do that, but I did when it happened. And I remember I was saying lots of times, I love you. I was putting Nivea cream on her face because she likes that. And then she had this tube in there. She was in coma, and then she came back, and then she said with the tube in her mouth, I love you back. And she never said that. And I could really take it in. And otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to take it in if I wouldn't have done the work on myself. I could really say, great. And later on, we could hug. I learned my mother how to hug. She never hugged. And at a certain moment, I was in the car talking to her, and I said, how come that we never had physical contact? And, I was craving for that moment. And she said, I never learned how to do that. I said, okay. And she said, I said, how do you look at that? And she said, yeah, sometimes I see other children coming to the home and they see them hugging their mother. And I said, what do you feel about that? And she said, well, it would be nice. I never would have thought that she would have said this kind of thing. She's 76 years old, and she can connect with a desire which is somewhere under the surface. Yeah. And so, that's what a message that I always give also to my clients that I coach one-on-one or in group is, don't keep on expecting all these things that your parents need to do for you. Also take this into your own hands. You need to learn sometimes them the skills that they never have learned. I can then keep on waiting and say, I have given the message to my mother to hug me, so let's now just wait till it happens. No, I remember we were driving with two cars, so my sister was next to me, and I came in her room, and I put her on the chair, and I said, let's start doing it. Let's start hugging. And I put all my positive energy and my enthusiasm, and I was like, put my arms around her, and she was like, ooh, what to do? And my sister was looking, what the hell are you doing? I said, come on, sis, you come also, let's do a group hug. And since then we hug. Isn't that great?
It's beautiful. Do you believe that, she was not learned to hug, and I assume also that she has been brought up in also a quite traumatic environment. Do you also believe that trauma has been transferred onto generations? But if you work on yourself, then you can break that trauma cycle, and you are doing your children a favor by not passing that trauma to them.
Totally agree. Yeah.
It's even so that, because you were talking about the normal conditioning is that we think as parents we have like the power over our children and we need to parent them. But my son, I consider my son as my biggest teacher. Mm-hmm. So he is actually parenting me more than I him. Mm-hmm. So because he triggers me on impatience, frustration, irritation and things like that, because he's not always doing what I want him to do.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I have two of them too at home. Actually sometimes something goes wrong. Like Saturday, I was alone with him and I tried to do two things at the same time. So watching over him, and I was doing something upstairs, and I came downstairs. And he was using milk powder, the powder, and he was putting it in a big bottle, and he was putting in some kind of diffuser of water, so it makes sure that it's always the right, how do you call that? Humidity.
Humidity in the room. So he put the milk powder in there, and I look at myself and my thoughts, and I see myself thinking, you have two options. or you're going to be mad, which is the classical way of thinking, or you can look at it, Peter, you weren't here, I need your attention. And I chose for the second one. I was like, okay, yeah, you did. So can you help me now clean up the mess? He was like, okay. And so we cleaned up, and because, he was trying to tell me something instead of yelling at him and things like that, because it has no use. He doesn't understand. He thought it was playing. Yeah. And, okay, cool. Now, it's an amazing story, Els. It's an amazing story. Now, the whole mindset, personal growth thing, okay, from 12, then you become, on your 28, you're like a coaching practice. Where were you initiated in the whole mindset / personal growth? Were you one of those who on his 21st saw Napoleon Hill with Think and Grow Rich, and you read that? I wish. And haven't opened itself, and you're like, oh.
I wish that I got already to know Napoleon Hill at that age. No, I must say, when I started working, I as I said, I got quite some nice, inspiring bosses, and which also were reading also quite a lot of books. So we were inspiring one another on that. So I remember going to the library in Ghent and just getting reading all the management books like Stephen Covey, and the 7 Habits of Effective Leadership. And
was that your first?
I think it's probably one of my
mine
first.
Too. Yeah, mine too.
And that opened up quite a lot of things, because Stephen also talks about visualization, for example, which was at that time.
Like,
what the hell are we talking?
Yeah,
exactly.
But the thing is with that book is that when I've read that book, and if I read it now again, I mean, it has so much depth. Yeah. Whereas the first time I was like, start with the end in mind. I was like, what do you mean with that? Yeah. And or co-creation. Yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah. But if you go really deep into the book, I mean, some people call it even the Think and Grow Rich, the reworked version, the 7 Habits of Effective People. So did you also...
I can reread it and reread again. I think I will always take something out. And by the way, he has also written other books like The 7 Effective Characteristics of a Successful Family that I'm reading right now, which is also super interesting. Yeah, because like the first thing that he is bringing in, can I talk about it? It's just very simple. I like simple and easy. That's why. You always know stimulus creates a certain behavior. That's not new. But he was explaining in his first chapter that we have this difference with animals, that we have, for example, consciousness. We have some skills that an animal does not have. That we don't have to go directly from stimulus to behavior. And so he was taking all these skills. There were 4 skills, and he was saying, so if we combine that means that we have a liberty of choice. So we can never, ever give ourselves any excuses anymore to be in the victim role, because we have that choice, which an animal does not have. And so all the time we can put on the pause knob, do on the break, like you were doing at that time with your son, saying, okay, let's do like 2 seconds of break. What's my choice here? I can do these both sides. And I like the way how he writes, because it's so easy. Yeah. And that was his first additional in this chapter. It's about having a nice family.
But I saw one of his live talks, and he also admits that sometimes he gets angry on his sons also.
Me too.
So it's
me too.
It's an interesting book. I don't know it. I'm going to buy it. Thank you.
It's very nice. But you also, I don't think we have to be. Well, one of the things I've learned as a mother and as a systemic coach is that, or trauma coach, is that you can always heal at whichever age. Also children.
Yeah, that's true. Because, even if you do your best, even if you have healed yourself with whatever...
Exactly.
I mean, your children will be traumatized anyway.
Exactly.
So...
But it's true. The more you clean yourself up, that's what I believe, the more you are, let's say, clean up, fresh, the more centered you are, the more options you have, the more flow you have within your company as a mother, within all the different roles.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it always helps. It always puts you big time forward.
Yeah, and it's how do you say that? It's then you can be a conscious parent.
More at least.
More at least. So, but there's no such thing as perfection. But for me, I mean, even when I meditate, he is sitting on my lap since he was born. So for him, it's like the most normal thing there is. So he's drinking his milk, he's sitting on my lap, and then for 20 minutes, and then he goes to sleep. And then I can feel his breathing also slowing down.
Yeah.
Because
he's
so
synchronizing with you.
Yeah. So because if I'm in like a state of frustration or irritation, he's going to project that or mirror that also onto me. So I
think a lot of parents can recognize in what you are saying right now. When you're angry or you're annoyed or this or that, your children also start being more annoying or more busy or making more sounds. Yeah.
And also, and it sounds a little corny, and I know it's not 100% true, but if I look at him, especially when he's sleeping, for me, I can feel for the first time unconditional love.
For sure. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And it's a very strange, it's like, I mean, people say love is an emotion, but it's not an emotion, it's some kind of state. Yeah. And you can really sense that.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think that's one of the most beautiful things you can experience.
Beautiful state to be in.
Yeah.
Unconditional love. And as a parent, that's also our role systemically wise, that we give unconditionally and the children can take.
Yeah.
They don't have to give to us.
Are you also, I mean, your children, do you also give them like personal growth books already or mindset books?
It's a good question. I have lots of, I started doing with them meditation and sometimes I draw cards.
Mm-hmm.
And my older daughter, she also started giving already in our Yes to Me foundation. We have a foundation for children, teenagers, abused men and women, and also concerning happy parentship. We have some free workshops, and she is doing also already with me the workshop for the children. I'm Super. It's called the class I'm Super between 8 and 12. So she's my very co-trainer. So that's great. And they also repeat lots of the sentences that we use. So for example,
it's like a mantra.
So we say it all the time, I'm okay, you're okay. And so for example, if I would be a bit tough on myself, then my children come and say, Mom, you're okay, as you are. And this kind of things they learn, and they learn to other children. And they are the whole energy of non-judging, because I really believe in that, and also think that in the world we can really make a big shift. And for sure in the Netherlands and Belgium, and I think lots of countries still, we have this judgment towards one another, towards ourselves. And that's the biggest gift I want to give to my children.